Today's episode of Necronomipod is brought to you by Beardology. There are a lot of imitators out there, but there's only one place I buy my beard oil. Beardology beard oil nourishes your skin and won't leave you with that greasy feel. With over 17 cents available in their extensive product line, I trust my beard to Beardology. You can find Beardology at beardology.co. Use code NECRO15 to receive 15% off your purchase. Beardology. Discover the best way to avoid the shave. Well, you voted for it, we supply it. Back in December, you listeners selected JonBenet Ramsey over 3 other subjects to be our first topic of 2020. Thanks for choosing such a feel-good story, you fuckos. In part 1 of our series, we'll be introduced to the Ramsey family, discuss the events leading up to JonBenet's disappearance and the discovery of a ransom note. We'll also discuss the forensic breakdown of Patsy Ramsey's 911 call, as well as the handwriting of the note discovered by the Ramsey family. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you think you know all the facts behind this disturbing story, stick around. You don't. This is Necronomipod.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am?
We were kidnapped. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left in our daughter's drawer.
A note was left in your daughter's?
Yeah.
How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was it?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory.
What's that?
The 2020 Daytona 500.
Yes.
You coming to my party this year?
Yeah.
Are you?
Mm-hmm. Why
Dave?
didn't I come? Somebody was I sick last year?
I don't remember.
Something happened.
Dave comes every year and pretends to give a shit about NASCAR, and he just drinks alcohol and eats food.
Do I really pretend, though? I guess I
mean,
do.
you go to a Daytona 500 party.
I just sit there and drink.
Oh,
I was there the year before that.
yeah, you
Yeah?
usually come.
Yeah.
Watch a bunch of left turns. It's so exciting.
I even
February
asked some
16th?
questions.
Yeah, I appreciate
I
that.
tried to learn a little
See?
bit.
Well, I sit here every week and try to learn from you. You come to my house once a year and learn from me. All right, February 16th on Fox. Check your local listings. Daytona 500. It's a free plug.
Yeah, I was pretty blown out that time. We went to breakfast,
We did. We go to
and then we started drinking immediately after breakfast at
it's-
like 10:30 in the
it's
morning.
A day.
That's
It's a
the
big
plan.
day. It's a day. As soon as the pre-show comes on at like 11, I'm like, all right, it's go time. And the race doesn't start till 2:30 or 3.
Yeah.
Didn't your guy lose at the 5th last lap one year?
He was leading with Chase Elliott. Thank you for bringing that up.
Weren't you sobbing
No, it was
hysterically?
not. 3 laps to go, I believe. He ran out of gas.
So it was 3.
Yeah.
It was pretty amusing. You couldn't
I
laugh.
almo-
You couldn't laugh in front of him because he was about to cry. But
I was not that because he knew he didn't have enough fuel. I mean, it was documented. I was about to throw up though for a while because I was so nervous. Like, oh my god, what if he pulls this off? I'm gonna flip out my own house, in a good way at least. Anyways, that's enough NASCAR talk for the year. As promised, on December 30th, 2019, I completed Breaking Bad again,
Congrats.
as voted by the listeners.
Yeah.
Completed that, and then I waited till the new year, but I did watch El Camino as well, just to kind of put a bow on everything.
How'd you like that?
El Camino, I thought was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. If it would have ended, if El Camino didn't come out, I still would have been fine. Like with Jesse's ending of Breaking Bad, like just kind of leaving it up to the imagination, but him getting out, that would have been fine. But
Yeah.
it's just like a movie to wrap it up. I thought it was good.
it's all right.
I was happier with El Camino than I was with Breaking Bad. Like at the end, like I don't think I've ever felt rage like I did like the last few episodes of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
That was the angriest I've ever been watching TV. I was like, how do people say they enjoy this show? This is terrible. If you just want good people to get hurt or die and bad people to win, then this show's for you. The last episode makes it a little better, but going into the last episode, I'd streamed like 3 or 4 episodes in a row, and I was hot. I was livid, like hating the show. And I was like, if I watch the finale now, I'm going to have a negative view. So I waited like a day, calmed down, whatever, got over it, and then watched the last episode. And it was a very good finale. It was good. I mean, they made it all wrap up nice.
But that was the whole point of the show arc, wasn't it?
Was what?
You know, what you just described, like getting you so hot, and like that was the whole point of the story.
Maybe so. And when you're watching it live, you have a week in between to cool off. I did not. And if I would have watched that last episode then, I would have had a very tainted view of the entire show because I was hating it. Hating it. I wanted to see Walt hung from a tree and people spitting on his body.
I told you.
Yeah.
But I
It's
also
crazy.
told you before you even started watching the show.
You did tell me. I liked Walt up till season 5, and I did not like Jesse much. I didn't hate Jesse. I just didn't care for him. Felt like he just fucked everything up all the time. And then season 5, they do a really good job of kind of flipping him.
Yeah. I like Todd. He was a good character. He's a nice kid.
Just a swell guy.
A nice kid.
Yeah.
He was a lot nicer in El Camino.
You think so? I think
I
it
thought so.
highlighted how much of a more of a
You
piece
think
of
so?
shit he is.
He was
yeah.
just offering some soup. He had beans and bacon soup he was offering him in his apartment.
I don't know about that cleaning lady.
Yeah.
I don't
Man,
know
that he
about,
killed. She found his money.
What's the guy gonna do, right?
I guess so.
The money that he had hidden in his fridge. We're giving away so much of the. Sorry, a lot of spoilers there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I
Well, glad you finally got through it.
I did get through it. I got it done within the year, like I promised, and I enjoyed it. It was good overall. I think I am gonna watch at some point. I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones.
Wiener alert! Wiener alert!
Yeah. Well, we'll fight through it.
I don't remember that many.
I don't either. People keep saying that. I don't recall a lot of
There's
wieners.
articles about how much there is, the abundance of wiener in the first few episodes or first season at least.
I don't think that's accurate.
I also found out, and I think you guys were the ones, it was that my brother is one of the ones who thinks it is one of the worst finishes in television history. He has a sour view of Game of Thrones because of the way they ended the show. And I know you guys were saying you liked it.
I didn't mind it. It wasn't perfect. I didn't hate it.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, but some people are mad about how a character turned out. And
You mean like how I was with Hank? Pretty disappointed.
yeah, well, you'll see if you watch it. You'll see.
Not Hank, Walt, but Hank
Oh
also.
yeah, kind
I
of.
meant Walt,
yeah,
but-
kind of.
Hank's demise is what put me over the edge.
Yeah,
I love that part. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
when Hank gets shot in the
I
face.
hated Hank in that show. It was terrible.
He was pretty obnoxious.
You're joking, right?
No, not at all.
He was the only reason why I kept watching that show.
I hated Hank.
He was the best character by far. He was the only one who was good and decent.
Well, yeah,
Everybody else had flaws. He didn't, other than he'd bust your balls. He's like a frat boy.
yeah. It's annoying.
But it was worse in the first season, I noticed. Like they really stopped him being that way. Like they trailed off of that as the show went on. Maybe because he had his injuries or whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways,
Well, good
So
luck with Game of Thrones.
Well,
When's
that-
your target
no,
completion date?
2022.
Okay.
Because that's going to take a long time to get through. But I'll watch it at some point. I'll provide updates. But,
I'll watch along with you.
well, you're going to get through it a lot quicker than I am.
I was on season 4 of Breaking Bad before you were done with season 2.
Yeah.
I just blew through that fucking thing all over again.
Once I got going, there would be a few nights where I could just blow through a few episodes and, get on a good rhythm, and then I'd fall off for like a week. Anyways, so going into this, let me just start this off by saying I knew nothing of the JonBenet Ramsey case. I was a kid at the time, but all I remember is her face on the tabloids. I didn't remember. I don't know a single thing about this story. So as we're going through it, I'm learning based on your notes. I feel like a lot of other people know it because it's like our time and was a mega story. I know nothing about it. So it was kind of interesting to read this first set of notes.
It's not. It's horrible. I would much rather be talking about Casey Anthony right now, but the fans would have voted properly.
It was second. It was close. Yeah, at least that one. You got some eye candy as you're going through a terrible story.
Some.
Yeah. This was not a pleasant read.
No, it's
but
horrible.
I found it to be extremely interesting.
It's very, very strange.
It reminds me a lot. I'm sorry, I cut you
No,
right
go
off.
ahead. Go ahead.
It reminds me a lot of like the kind of Chris Benoit type story where there's just like so many questions about like what happened. And there's a lot of odd little things and weird coincidences. Yeah, this one has more so though, because with the Benoit one is, if you're a patron, you can go back and listen to that on the Patreon archives. I mean, it was pretty open and shut case according to the police, whereas this one,
Yeah, I mean,
clearly
this
not.
is the most bizarre case. I mean, every time you think, at least for me, every time I think, I'm like, okay, that sounds right, you know, a theory, then there's something else that just throws it off. It's the most frustrating one that I've done so far, because everybody seems to have their own agenda with this, and they withhold evidence to get their version.
There's
point
no
of view.
straight stories anywhere here.
No, not at all. So that's kind of the goal of our series on this, is to just present the facts as best as we can and go
let
from there.
come up to your own conclusions.
Yeah.
And we'll maybe give you our thoughts at the end.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All right, let's jump into it. John Benet Patricia Ramsey was born in Atlanta, Georgia on August 6th, 1990, to parents John Bennett Ramsey and Patricia Ramsey. Her name was a combination of her father's first and middle names and her middle name after her mother.
It's a very strange name.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Yeah, it's different.
And they threw the what do you call it, the accent over the E
Mm-hmm.
It's being
to make
fancy.
it sound more
French.
French, yeah. John Ramsey was a wealthy businessman, and her mother, Patsy, was a former beauty queen, Miss West Virginia, to be specific.
Mm.
Can't imagine there's great competition there.
Wow.
We all were thinking it. I just said it.
You ever been to a strip club in rural West Virginia?
I have.
Some good stuff.
I don't know if I agree.
John Ramsey graduated from Michigan State University in 1966 with an electrical engineering degree, and then 5 years later, he got his master's in business administration, also from Michigan State. John was married before he met Patsy Ramsey to a woman named Lucinda Johnson, and they had 3 children, Elizabeth, Melinda, and John Andrew. They divorced in 1978 on November 5th, and in 1980, he married Patricia Paw, who goes by the name Patsy. Patsy attended West Virginia University and graduated with a bachelor's in journalism in 1978. And just a year before that, she won the Miss West Virginia beauty title in 1977.
So how about that, Mike?
So she's, building quite the resume here. She wins.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was supposed to say to that.
Well, you were denigrating the whole state of West Virginia and their
Well.
and their women. I just thought I'd throw it back to you, is all.
Well, she's the best one. I don't even know what she looks like. She's an attractive lady.
Not especially.
Think
Maybe.
about that, and she won.
Maybe back in the 80s, I don't know,
Yeah.
or 70s. I
I'm
don't know.
going to hit the old Google machine while you're talking here.
All right. On January 27th, 1987, Patsy gave birth to the couple's first child, Burke Ramsey. Then 3.5 years later, they had their second child, John Benet. In 1991, the Ramseys moved to Boulder, Colorado for John's business, Access Graphics. John started a computer software company in the 80s, and eventually his company and 2 other companies merged in 1988, and this formed Access Graphics. Access Graphics was then sold to Lockheed Martin in 1991, with John becoming the chief executive officer and president of Access Graphics.
So he was doing okay for himself.
Yeah, and can't really, not much information out there what Access Graphics exactly does, besides that it's a software company, which would something with weapons since Lockheed Martin bought it. But
Yeah, makes sense. Have you guys ever been to Boulder?
mm-mm.
Nice out there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I've not.
So when the Ramseys relocated to Boulder, they purchased a 7,000 square foot home for $500,000. And the real estate has it listed actually as 11,000 square feet, but that's adding in like the garage and shit. Like,
Oh,
like
okay.
normally you wouldn't add that in,
Yeah,
but they
you can't,
do
You
on
can't
law.
have the basement in either, right? Isn't the basement not included?
Unless it has its own entrance, I believe.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, so online it's listed as 11,000 square feet, but that's including all the.
It's a pretty big house for $500,000.
That's what I was thinking.
And granted, it's 25 years ago, but or almost
Still.
30 years ago, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
It's a Tudor style home built in 1927. There are 4 floors, including the basement. The basement is made up of a series of small rooms, And the home has 2 staircases, one traditional and one spiral. There are 5 bedrooms. Burke and John Bonet's rooms were located on the 2nd floor. John Bonet's room had its own bathroom and balcony, and the master suite was right above the children's rooms located on the 3rd floor. And that'll make more sense in part 2, why we're getting into the layout of the house
layout.
and all that stuff.
Here's the blueprint of the house. We're going to explain every room.
Shortly after getting settled in on January 8th, 1992, John Ramsey's oldest daughter from his first marriage, Elizabeth Ramsey, was killed in a car accident in Chicago, Illinois, at the age of 22 years old. So, John, I mean, we know what happens to John Bonet. So, John has two children.
A black cloud over these people.
Yeah. On December 23rd, 1992, the Ramseys purchased a 1,731 square foot vacation home, Charlevoix, Michigan, for $336,000. In June of 1993, Patsy Ramsey was diagnosed with breast cancer, where she would travel to Clairvoyant Community Hospital for treatments in Maryland. So we just kind of yada-yada through like a lot there, but a lot of this stuff will make sense when we start getting into the crime and everything.
So this is generally just the backstory of it leads us up to, the events that we're going to discuss.
Just laying a foundation
Right, yeah.
here.
So in 1994, Burke was 7 years old at the time. He hit John Bonet on the cheek with a golf club on accident, which left a scar on her cheek.
She would have been, 4 at this time then?
Right. And shortly after, she underwent plastic surgery at a surgeon in Denver to get rid of that scar.
I mean, are we hinting at the potential of her brother causing violence to her?
It's a theory we'll get into eventually. In December of 1994, the Ramseys' home is one of 7 homes in the area to be included in the Historic Homes for the Holidays tour. Approximately 1,500 people participated in a tour of the Ramseys' property and house. So you got 1,500 people, strangers, coming in this house and walking around.
Would you ever do that?
No.
No, nor would I. It's crazy.
Yep.
I hated just, selling my house and having the realtor take potential buyers through there. I had severe anxiety from that.
Yeah.
Not just because Mike lived next door either. Just like those people in my house.
But I mean,
I had severe anxiety about who was going to buy that house.
And it panned out, right?
Yeah, great. Real nice.
So there are like 40 people living in that house now?
At least. Pretty sure at this point the kitchen has bedrooms in it.
My poor house.
Yeah.
so right off the bat there, you got 1,500 strangers coming in this house.
Doing God knows what.
It's already opening the door for
Mm-hmm.
a lot of potential suspects for what we're going to get into. In April of 1995, John Bonet Ramsey wins the Colorado State All-Star Kids Pageant.
Is this kind of the beauty pageant type thing that
Yes.
she's known for?
Yes, and we can just hit this because it's the first one. I feel like I don't want to victim blame, but you would have to know sexualizing your child like that in front of a bunch of people is just inviting.
I don't disagree. Well, I don't think it's victim blaming. It's, she's 4 years old. It's the mother of the victim blaming.
Yeah.
Which,
But if you're putting makeup on your child, like there's no other way to win the contest. You know what I mean? If it was based on talent or something, you just wear whatever you wanted and go up there. It's specifically
I think there's a talent
looks.
portion though, right?
Yeah, but they don't win. But what are you judging on?
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I mean, realistically, if a girl went up there just wearing a normal girl's outfit with no makeup on,
She would not win.
right? So it's,
Right.
so you have people judging a child off of their looks. It's
It's a little
weird.
unsavory.
It's gross.
I agree.
it is gross. It's
It
very
is.
strange.
And it's specifically American, the whole idea of it, because there are lots of countries where it's banned, and specifically France, they have a complete countrywide ban on it.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Trying to put yourself in that situation, why you would want to do that. Are most of those parents that put their daughters in that, like, prior beauty pageant queens themselves, like in
Have
this
you seen
scenario.
Honey Boo Boo's mom? She's not winning any pageants. Come on now.
Well, I mean, Patsy was, so that makes
Yeah.
sense in her case, you know. But and the other thing with
I do
that
think
too,
there's a lot of that. I would
Yeah.
imagine so.
yeah,
Generational type thing.
I just can't imagine wanting to put your kid up there like that. It's just very strange.
Even for the sake of who wants their kid judged like that, you know, even not sexualizing it. Like
On your looks when
yeah,
you're
I wouldn't
4,
want
like
that.
Yeah.
I
the
wouldn't want
fuck
to put
is
that
that?
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about it. I had something to say. I can't remember.
Come on, Ian. This is like the most fired up you get about something.
Yeah, I was very irritated with a lot of this stuff. This whole thing really irritated me, especially when we'll get into part 2 with all the tabloid nonsense of this and how everybody just seems to have like I said in the beginning, their own agenda to push with this stuff. Yeah, it's just it's really, really weird. The whole idea of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's disturbing.
Because some of the people like the judges, there are guy judges there, male
Like judging
judges.
how hot a 4-year-old is, essentially, right? Like,
Yeah.
who
I don't
does-
know how
like,
the
what
judging
is
works
that?
for the kids. Like, I don't know what they like. Do they do like a bathing suit competition like they do in the adult ones?
Oh
for
yeah,
kids?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, that's just wild.
They
with,
wear
with
like
tons of fucking Tammy Faye Baker makeup, right?
I think so.
Completely
Their
disturbing.
hair all done up. They got the fake teeth in, right? They make them like the their teeth look bigger and white or whatever they do.
Oh my god, they do that too.
I don't know. I just assumed they did.
I don't know. I didn't watch any of the.
I saw a little
one.
bit of the Honey Boo Boo stuff, but I don't really remember what they did.
Fake teeth. I didn't know that.
Let me
Jesus.
look. Let me Google.
It's
this
very,
and see. I mean, if you're trying to win, why would you not? Just to have like big pearly white teeth. Why would you not do it?
What are you googling? Hot 4-year-olds with
No,
fake
I'm going to
teeth?
put in pageant.
But the other thing too with the kids, that's what I was thinking of earlier. No 4-year-old is gonna be. This is on your point of parents, being prior ones. No 4-year-old's gonna be like, you know what I want to do? I want to go up there and wear all this stuff and do like that's. It's all
Yeah, and I think the response from the parent is always, she's the one pushing to do this. She wants to do this. Yeah, because she wants to please your dumb ass.
right.
Oh my god, they do have fake teeth. Oh, that's so bizarre.
I showed Dave the photo I just pulled up. Like they're putting on like those. I forget what they're called.
Grills.
Essentially, but it's just like like big caps they put on teeth to give you like that big pearly white like smile.
Oh my god, so disturbing.
Yeah, look. You look at some of these pictures; they just look like fake plastic Barbie dolls. That's terrible.
So that's my spiel on
I completely agree.
on that. So October of 1995, John Bonet was crowned Little Miss Colorado Sunburst, and John Ramsey was the winner of the Entrepreneur of Distinction Award.
Had a big month for that family.
Yeah, very very successful.
I was 9 years old. I wasn't winning shit.
Neither you weren't in beauty pageants.
I was not.
You were beating your Hulk Hogan doll up in your room, pinning him every time.
Hey, no, I lost. So just said I never won. Put him over, man.
The April 1996 issue of Women's Magazine profiled Patsy Ramsey. This article included a lot of her personal information, but it also included a lot of personal information about John and the kids. So you got 1,500 people coming in the house, and now you have a pretty
They're just
personal article being written,
they're like a high-profiled family. The spotlight's on them and their home.
which is strange with John being involved in the defense business.
Usually keep a low profile.
Yeah,
Tony Stark didn't.
True. Very true.
good point.
Fictional characters prove this all wrong.
In July of 1996, John Bonet won America's Royale, Tiny Miss, and in the following month finished second at the Sunburst National Pageant. This pageant was held in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was a big one. There was a lot of people there.
So she's flying across the country,
Yeah.
to compete in these national pageants.
On Saturday, November 30th, 1996, John Ramsey hosts a surprise 40th birthday party for Patsy. And this is for sure a surprise because her actual birthday wasn't until December.
Is that relevant that it was a surprise? Or I didn't know if you were like,
Oh no,
alluding
I'm
to
just
like a fact.
Oh no,
that
no,
will-
I'm just saying it was a surprise just because we don't skip details in here.
Okay. Just didn't know if the fact that it was a real legit
Facts matter, Mike.
surprise
Okay,
party, if
facts
that would,
matter.
Like, pop up later. Nope, that's just a fact for you all to take home for free.
On December 6, 1996, during the Lights of December parade, JonBenét appeared in her own Little Miss Colorado float. This is just your standard town parade with floats sponsored by local businesses, high school band, all that shit. Just your standard stuff. Burke was also in this parade too. On December 13th, 1996, the Ramseys host a large Christmas party that was attended by more than 150 of their friends from church. So there's another 150 people.
At their house.
Right. On December 17th, 1996, JonBenét was crowned Colorado's Little Miss Christmas. And this is, again, another really large pageant that she participated in.
So I guess she was good at it.
I guess I saw something somewhere said that she could just like freeze, like a 6-year-old should not be able to do, like just pose and like not move.
I was like, what is that good? But like pose. I
and
guess.
like not move her face, just completely freeze.
She was a little child prodigy.
There was an article, I can't remember the name of the magazine. She was, I should have included this. I can't remember the name of the magazine, but it was one of those national beauty pageant, child beauty pageant magazines. That's one we were talking about before we were recording, where I said if you worked for the sex crimes unit, you could just put a trace on whoever buys that magazine and and just be like, hey, follow that guy. But she was featured in that as like this up and coming, like she would be really successful in the future. So
It's interesting.
yeah. Sometime in December of 1996, according to the police, JonBenét tells a gardener, Brian Scott, that she really misses her father and wishes he was around more.
So a 6-year-old's out talking to the gardener?
I guess.
If he's around every day, though, it might just become a family friend.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose.
I saw an interview with him. It sounded like he was there all the time.
Yeah, okay.
On December 20th, 1996, the Ramseys had 2 events going on. Access Graphics had a luncheon party and a celebration for more than 300 of their employees at the Hotel Boulderado, and JonBenét participated in a school performance at High Peaks Elementary School. Patsy she attended JonBenét's performance instead of going to the luncheon. The Access Graphics luncheon and the performance went on at the same time, so that's why she decided to go to JonBenét's thing. The luncheon for Access Graphics was in celebration for the company hitting its first $1 billion year. John Ramsey was on board for the party, but he would later say that he had like just this bad gut feeling about the PR team wanting to go out and do press for it.
What's that mean?
Like
just-
wanting to PR the $1 billion year and like
Right.
publicizing that and having a big to do about it.
Right. He thought later on, thinking back on it, like it put kind of put a target on him. And like we were saying, like we said earlier, or you said, low profile. You're in the defense business.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that don't like you,
Sure.
and then you're out, your company's flaunting $1 billion year.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Can we also talk about the fucking schedule this family keeps up?
Yeah, right.
This is exhausting. We're only going through November and December, and they've done more than I've done in the last 3 years.
Right.
When do they have time to binge watch TV shows?
Right.
They're never going to watch Breaking Bad.
They left their house more in one day than you do in 6 months.
Yeah. That's
Twice. They left twice in one day. That's more.
That's accurate.
I'm kidding. Yeah, how the hell would they ever watch Breaking Bad? They'd never get through it.
Wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I guess when you're the head guy at $1 billion company, you got a busy life.
Rich people don't watch TV. They're successful.
They make
They don't
TV.
waste their time.
But yeah, so he had this. He said that he had a bad feeling about it. On December 21st, the Daily Camera Business magazine publishes an article on Access Graphics reaching $1 billion. On December 22nd, JonBenét performed in a beauty pageant at the Southwest Plaza Mall. Shortly after this, Patsy sent out the family's annual Christmas letter to friends and family.
Dear friends and family, it's been another busy year at the Ramsey household. Can't believe it's almost over and time to start again. Melinda, 24, graduated from Medical College of Georgia and is working in pediatric ICU at Kennestone Hospital in Atlanta. John Andrew, 20, is a sophomore at the University of Colorado. Burke is a busy fourth grader where he really shines in math and spelling. He played flag football this fall and is currently on a basketball binge. His Little League team was number 1. He's lost just about all of his baby teeth, so I'm sure we'll be seeing the orthodontist in 1997. JonBenet is enjoying her first year in real school. Kindergarten in the Core Knowledge program is fast-paced and 5 full days a week. She has been moved ahead to first grade math. She continues to enjoy participating in talent and modeling pageants. She was named America's Royale Tiny Miss last summer and is Colorado's Little Miss Christmas. Her teacher says she is so outgoing that she will never have trouble delivering an oral book report. John is always on the go, traveling hither and yon. Access recently celebrated its $1 billion mark in sales, so he's pretty happy. He and his crew were underway in the Port Huron to Mackinac Island yacht race in July, but had to pull out midway due to lack of wind. Can you believe that? But his real love is the new, old-looking boat, Grand Season, which he spent months designing. I spend most of my free time working in the school and doing volunteer work. The Charlevoix House was on the home tour in July and will likely appear in one of the Better Home and Gardens publications in 1997. On a recent trip to New York City, my friend and I appeared amid the throng of fans on the Today Show. Al Roker and Brian actually talked to us, and we were on camera for a few fleeting moments. We are all enjoying continued good health and look forward to seeing you in 1997. One final note, thank you to all my friends and my dear husband for surprising me with the biggest, most outrageous 40th birthday bash I've ever had. We'll be spending my actual birthday on the Disney Big Red Boat over the new year. Merry Christmas and much love, the Ramseys.
Puke. Does she have a lot of 40th birthday bashes if that was the most outrageous one she ever had?
Well, maybe so. Those pageant people, every year it's their 40th birthday.
Yeah, I don't know.
A little obnoxious.
I've never gotten a letter before from anybody.
I'm going to write one just for you next year.
All right.
I'm going to give you an update on everybody.
Just let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Not that we don't talk almost all day, every day. Yeah, text.
Yeah, I wouldn't have much to write about.
I left the house on July 14th, went to Speedway.
Played some Call of Duty.
It was a good year.
So then on November 23rd, the Ramseys hosted another Christmas party with approximately 30 guests attending, with former journalism professor Bill McReynolds playing Santa Claus. This Bill McReynolds guy is considered a Ramsey family friend.
It's 2 Christmas parties in the course of 2 weeks, for those of you keeping count at home.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Man, I'd be like, I don't know.
Be done. I host one party, like Daytona. We talked about it. What was that? The Patreon? Well, that was this episode.
Yeah.
I can't keep track anymore with the recording. One party a year and I'm exhausted. I don't want people in my house again.
To be fair, I don't think the Ramseys were starting drinking at 10:30 in the morning, though.
Well, they're not partying right.
I don't think they were getting blown out. Because I specifically remember shotgunning beers at your party the last time
You
I
come
was
to
there.
a NASCAR party, you shotgun some beers.
Yeah. I don't think the Ramseys were shotgunning beers.
Well, or cooking their own food or anything either.
It's also true.
Absolutely not.
Catered affair.
Yeah.
Probably had valet parking too.
They did, 100%.
Of course they did.
So in hindsight, a very strange detail about this party. At 6:47 p.m., someone placed a call to 911 that was answered by police dispatcher Therese Hillary. The caller hung up without saying anything, and the police called back, but when they did, no one answered, and the call was picked up by the Ramseys answering machine. As a result, an officer went to the home at 6:54 p.m. and was invited in, and then left at 7:09 p.m. after being assured that there was no emergency. So,
Yeah, that's strange.
That's odd.
It happens, but
theory is that if the killer was at this party, they called 911 to see how fast it would take the police to get there.
Interesting.
Or it could have been one of the kids fucking around, because there were other kids at this party too. Someone could have thought they were funny, and
Yeah. Still a strange tidbit.
yeah, in hindsight, it's a weird detail.
And the cop got there pretty quick.
Yeah, it didn't take long. There are a few details how this next part has been reported, but the person playing Santa Claus got a tour of the house from JonBenét Ramsey. Some reports say that it happened in 1996. Some say it happened in 1995. Regardless, Bill McReynolds was considered a family friend of the Ramseys, and it wasn't just somebody that was hired to play Santa Claus. It's also said that JonBenét gave Bill McReynolds a gift, and he would say years later that out of all the times he played Santa Claus, JonBenét was the only child to give him a gift.
So what's going on here?
This will get a little strange, and we'll get into this when we get into the suspects. On Christmas Eve, December 24th, an article appeared in the Daily Camera about the Ramseys' Christmas party, which I don't know. It sounded like this magazine was just reporting on them all the time.
Yeah, if they're reporting on their Christmas party.
Yeah, that's odd.
God
Right.
damn.
Also on December 24th, JonBenét played at a friend's house named Megan Kostanek and told Megan's mother, Barbara, about a secret visit from Santa. And this wasn't her just going up saying Santa's going to visit me. There was a discussion between Megan's mother, Barbara, and JonBenét. Barbara questioned JonBenét as to when Santa was going to pay her this secret visit. And Barbara stated that JonBenét explained to her it wasn't going to be the normal Santa visit. It was going to be after Christmas.
That's creepy.
So, but your mind immediately jumps to Bill McReynolds because we just touched on him a little bit. But you keep in mind how many Santa Clauses she saw leading up to this. There was the Lights of December parade. There was a Santa Claus there. She did the beauty pageant at the mall. There was a Santa Claus there. And I'm sure somewhere else along the line that she saw other Santa Clauses.
Well, I'm sure any pageant that takes place in the holiday season has a Santa there, right?
Probably.
It makes sense.
We keeping you up, Mike?
Yeah, it's past my bedtime. No, it's not.
That's just a very specific
Yeah.
conversation to have with a 6-year-old that
Yeah.
this special Santa or whatever is going to visit me
Right.
later.
And it could be something as innocent as if Bill McReynolds did say that, like it could be something as innocent as him saying like, "Oh yeah, we'll make a special visit for you" or something. Just to.
Yeah.
Did she know that it was Bill McReynolds being Santa, or did she not actually know that?
I don't know. I don't think there's any. You know,
Like, I'm wondering if she thought it was the real Santa at her house, or
Right.
did she know, oh, that's our friend
Good
Bill?
question.
Yeah. I'm not sure on that.
Because you would think then maybe in being questioned by Barbara, she would have mentioned, oh no, my friend Bill said he's going to come back, if that were the case,
Right.
which she didn't do.
Regardless, there's a lot of coincidences starting to pile up.
Yeah,
I think.
pretty quick already. Later in the day on December 24th, the Ramseys attended the twilight service at St. John's Episcopal Church in Boulder, Colorado around 9 p.m.
It's the best church service of the year.
Is it?
Oh, no. It's horrible.
I think they're the long ones. I never had to go to like a Christmas Eve mass, did you?
I remember going to midnight mass before.
Which is like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, right?
Yeah.
Like midnight.
It's like at midnight, you're like, I want to be home so fucking Santa can come over. Why am I at mass?
and it's like 2 hours long or something.
It's horrible.
Church is hard enough to stay up for in the middle of the day, let alone in the middle of the night.
All that kneeling and standing and sitting and kneeling. Just get on with it.
I'm so glad I didn't have a religious upbringing.
I never had to do the religious or the holiday ones, but I always just heard they were the long as shit.
Terrible.
I went to church twice a year with just to make my grandma happy. I went on Easter and then around Christmas time, but specifically Easter.
Was
Palm
Easter was
Sunday,
probably
whatever.
long. Yeah, Palm Sunday.
Oh, Methodist. It wasn't.
You guys just cut to the chase.
Yeah, it's like an hour.
Not bad.
2 times a year is plenty.
It was enough for me.
I bet.
Once they got home, John Ramsey gets a brand new silver girl's bicycle that was stored at a neighbor's garage, and he put it under the Christmas tree for JonBenét. Then both John and Patsy get other Christmas gifts out of their basement and place these under the tree as well. On December 25th, 1996, around 6 a.m., the Ramseys wake up and do the normal Christmas morning stuff, opening gifts and eat breakfast. At noon, John left the house to go and check on the airplane because they had a flight planned for early next morning. And of course, I mean, they have their own plane.
Oh, of course.
Sometime between 2 and 3 p.m., John returned back home from checking on the plane. Between 5 and 6 p.m., the Ramseys left their house, and this is all four of them, John, Patsy, Burke, and JonBenét, and they head to the home of their friends Fleet and Priscilla White for a Christmas party.
Fleet?
Yeah. You know how I was taught, well, I'm just saying I don't give a fuck. You know how I was saying the other day that I was at that party where some people took themselves too seriously? They should have, that sounds like what Fleet would be like, a guy named Fleet.
Yeah.
Hello, Ian. Fleet White. Damn glad to meet you, son. Isn't that the name of an enema? Fleet enema?
I just think of a fleet of boats.
Yeah.
Fleet of douchebags. I don't know. A fleet enema? I've never heard of that.
Oh, maybe I think it is, though.
Just stick with it.
I don't know why I know that, but.
The Ramseys left this party at an unknown time, and on the drive home from the party, JonBenét and her brother Burke fell asleep in the car.
Of course she did. They kept her up at mass or church till freaking midnight almost the night before.
And these kids have been, or especially her, I don't know really Burke's schedule, but JonBenét has been nonstop since we started this timeline.
Yeah. Poor kid just needs to take a break.
The Ramseys made some stops along the way to drop off gifts to Stuart and Roxy Walker's home, and then to Glenn and Susan Stein's house. Because we don't know exactly what time they left the party and what time these stops took place, we also don't know exactly what time the Ramseys got back to their house. They claim it was between 9 and 9:30 p.m., and there's several stories about what took place once the Ramseys got home. One of these stories says that John put JonBenét to bed and then went and played a game with Burke until he went to sleep.
Why are there several versions of the story?
Well, John would later on, he recanted some of this and said that he never said this stuff. So, like, the Ramseys reported to the Boulder Police Department officers that JonBenét was last seen by Patsy in their home at approximately 10 p.m. According to Boulder Police Department Detective Linda Arndt, John Ramsey said that JonBenét was last seen by him at approximately 10 p.m. Regardless, both of these statements put her as last being seen at 10 p.m., but you have Patsy saying, I saw her, and John saying, no, I saw her. Mm-hmm. According to accounts, John carried JonBenét to her bed, and that's where he would say goodnight. Then, supposedly, this is where Patsy Ramsey comes in to check on her and says goodnight to her as well. John would tell Boulder police officers separately that he read both JonBenét and Burke stories before they went to bed, but then he would later recant that statement. So he's saying they're initially saying that he carried her up. She was asleep this whole time and carried her up to bed. Then he told the police separately that he read them both books, but then said no. He recanted that.
I mean, is it just the trauma of what happened that you kind of misremember? I could see that.
I'm only basing it off what I've read so far, and I think that's very plausible. If you went through that trauma, you can get things mixed up, but I don't know the rest of the story.
It just, to me, I feel like you would remember if you carried her up or if she was still awake and you read a story to her.
But you could have carried her up, put her in bed, and then she wakes up because of all the movement and says, oh, read me a story. I think that's plausible. And then maybe the next day when he's going through all this trauma, he's mixed up or confused. Yeah. The recanting thing's kind of odd, but I don't know. I don't think I could put myself in that mindset.
Yeah, exactly right.
There's a lot of judging that goes on in this, especially towards them, that it's like you don't know how you would feel in that situation. So I don't know. I feel like it's a pretty specific memory, but you know, everything going on, you could mix it up.
Yeah, I see that.
Around 10 to 10:30 p.m., Patsy goes to bed, and according to Patsy's statement, John comes to bed about 15 minutes later. John and Patsy both claim that they were not awakened during the night, and it's worth noting that John Ramsey took a sleep medication, which was a normal thing for him.
So he's out.
Yeah. They also did not set their home alarm system, which had become a normal thing because the kids kept setting it off. And I guess the reasoning is that the bill racks up, but
because if you set it off, isn't that they charge you for that, don't they?
Yeah, but
it's more expensive.
You're the president. chief executive of a fucking billion-dollar company.
I agree. It's probably not a wise move.
Or were the police sent out numerous times?
I believe the police were sent out too numerous times, so they might be getting
part
pissed.
of it, yeah.
That's true.
Like,
Plus
look, asshole.
Plus a fake
Stop.
a fake 911 call. They're like, seriously, we're tired of coming out here.
So maybe not the monetary aspect. Maybe the police are like, hey, knock it off, pal.
Yeah, we're going to tell you the same thing we told Fleet. Don't make us come back out here again.
Right. But, and that's not even that bizarre to me either that they didn't set it, because I know from personal experience, Angie's mom has an alarm system, and when we visit there and we take Max with us, we have to let him outside. Well, Max is my dog, so we let Max when we let Max outside. She's just like, I'm not going to turn on the alarm because you're going to be letting him out at night and stuff.
Yeah.
So she leaves it off.
Sure.
So I think it's not strange to
Not at all.
to leave it off for certain things. On December 26th, sometime around midnight, neighbor Scott Gibbons said he looked out his kitchen window toward the Ramsey's house and saw the upper kitchen lights were on and dimmed low.
What's an upper kitchen
I wish my
light?
house had an upper kitchen.
Yeah, that'd be nice, right?
Yeah. That was, what time did we say?
Around midnight.
Midnight.
So it's 2 hours after they went to bed, or an hour and a half.
After they allegedly went to bed.
Yeah. According to Boulder detective Steve Thomas, neighbor Melody Stanton says that she heard a scream between midnight and 2 a.m. I mean, that's a huge red flag, but it's worth noting that this woman did say in the very beginning of the investigation that she had nothing to offer and didn't want to get involved. And then after everything got all publicized and real,
Oh, suddenly I recall hearing a scream.
yeah. So
Although these houses, I mean, these are giant houses. They're not little, 900 square foot bungalows on top of each other. Could you even hear someone scream?
they did a forensics thing with that, and from the bottom of the house, the basement, you couldn't hear it from the Ramsey's bedroom, the master suite. You couldn't hear a scream.
Yeah.
From the basement. But
Yeah.
Dave's saying from another house. The
Oh,
neighbor-
Really, could a
heard the
neighbor even
scream.
hear that? I could scream as loud as I can sitting here. I don't think your neighbor could hear that.
Probably not. No.
And,
you're-
it's December. Windows are closed. You
Yeah.
know, in Colorado, it's not like the windows are open and you might be able to hear something.
Right. And then with this house, specifically this house, factoring in the basement, you're talking 11,000 square feet. That's like 10 of my house. It's fucking crazy. So yeah, you're not. I don't think you would hear that
No,
scream.
I don't either.
That's a big basement. So it's a 7,000 square foot home, and then with the basement, 11,000 plus a garage.
Plus the garage, yeah. At 5:30 a.m., John Ramsey wakes up because the family planned to get up early that morning because they had that flight to Charlevoix, Michigan for the family vacation. While John took a shower, Patsy got up and put on the same outfit she had on the night before and put on some makeup, went down to the second floor, and then down the spiral stairs to the kitchen. There's two different versions of this story. There's
More different versions.
dude, this whole thing is just full of it's hard to get the facts straight with this story.
So Ian's going to lay out the versions, and you listeners at home, figure out what you want to go with. So choose your own adventure at this point.
Yeah, now we're really getting into that kind of stuff. One story says that she went to check on John Bonet on her way downstairs, and John Bonet was not there. The other story says that she just went straight downstairs to the ground level floor. Either way, near the bottom of the stairs, she discovered a handwritten note on 3 sheets of paper laid out side by side. They indicated that John Bonet had been kidnapped. Patsy Ramsey told Detective Arndt that she found a note at the bottom of the staircase at approximately 5:45 a.m. She said she only read a few lines stating that John Bonet was kidnapped, but safe and unharmed, and demanding $118,000 for her return. Patsy immediately screamed and then ran to check John Bonet's room, which she found to be empty. After hearing Patsy scream, John ran downstairs and met Patsy. Together, they checked on Burke, who was still asleep in his room. John went downstairs to read the ransom note, and he told Patsy to call the police at 5:52 a.m. That's what, 7 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's too long or anything. I know some people judge that, but that doesn't seem that long. To read a 3-page note, try and figure out what's going on.
No, because I agree with that. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And traumatized state.
Right.
It gets it's
And it's early morning. First of all, you're walking down the steps slow.
right.
Maybe she's checking on John, or allegedly checking on JonBenet, or
The one version says that she checked on her on her way downstairs,
but then clearly she wasn't there.
right.
So if she
And then
checked on her, what did she see?
One version says she checked on her on the way down, didn't see her, kept walking down, then found the note. Other story says she walked straight down, found the note,
Gotcha.
went up to check on her, and she wasn't there.
Gotcha. Okay. 7 minutes seems plausible.
I think so.
I think so
To
too.
group everything together, like what's happening, and then call the police.
Even just to string it together in your mind and kind of,
Right. I mean, she just got dressed. If you go off of if they're
Oh, yeah,
telling
true.
the
Getting
truth,
dressed too. Yeah.
you're just waking up.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
We like to drink beer, a lot of it. After a long night of drinking and talking crime and conspiracies, there's nothing that wakes us up and gets us ready to start the day better than Just Brew coffee. With a great selection of roast levels to choose from, you're guaranteed to find one that suits your style. Small batch roasted to highlight the unique features of each coffee bean, Just Brew coffee caters to both casual and hardcore coffee drinkers alike. Since 2010, Just Brew Coffee has worked tirelessly to perfect the roasting process and technique, which has resulted in seriously delicious, always flavorful, and never bitter tasting coffee. If you're already drinking JBC, raise your mug. If you're not, raise your standards. Check them out in social media, and remember, they roast, you just brew. Check out their new online store at youjustbrew.com and up your coffee game today. Use code NECRO15 to receive 15% off your order of 2 pounds or more.
All right, so here is the 911 call. There's conspiracy stuff and debates on if there's more to the call, if there's not. This is what's out there for the call.
911 emergency.
We need him. Police.
What's going on?
15th Street.
What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is
Yes.
gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says FBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Kathy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
Okay, I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been
No,
gone?
I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay, well,
There's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath,
Please,
okay?
hurry, hurry, hurry.
Patsy, 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 Patsy.
What's your guys' first thoughts on the call? You've never listened to it before, right?
I don't think I have.
No.
You obviously have not.
It's extremely upsetting.
Yeah, 911
Disturbing.
calls aren't fun to listen
It
to.
sounds like at the end there, she puts the phone down and is walking away talking to herself.
right, and that's highly debated. We'll get into that.
It sounds like she just puts the phone down and she runs off and
Yeah.
says something. It also seems like she's like winded, almost like she's moving around or running through the house. Like maybe looking for her, I don't know, but it sounds like she's out of breath, like from like and like in the process of running and moving. I don't know.
I think it sounds a little scripted, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part?
All of it.
The whole thing?
Yeah. That's my first take on that.
She gets there's a lot of criticism because she never says JonBenet's name. But in all fairness to that, the 911 operator never asks her what her name is.
Okay.
So I put that in a good column, I guess, whatever for Patsy.
I don't know how saying their name you want the police coming to your house.
Right.
Giving the police the name at that point is not going to solve anything.
That's the other thing that people put in her favor is she doesn't mess around with trying to tell the story first. She immediately says, "We need the police here."
Okay.
Instead of like trying to get out, like, here's the story, here's what happened, let's cover
Right.
my bases.
because there's no other reason to call. You know what I mean? You're calling for help. So,
And you don't want to waste time explaining it to the dispatcher. Just get someone here.
right. The other thing that people point out that's strange is where the operator says, okay, what's your name? And then,
Are you Kath?
are you Catholic? She's going to say, are you Kathy? That doesn't-
Unless, did she already say her name earlier? Maybe she misheard Pats for Kath or Patsy for Kathy. I mean, that could be an easy mix-up.
Did they ever ask the dispatcher what
Well, that's
she
what
was trying
I'm
to
looking
say?
to see. At no point in the transcript did she refer to herself as Patsy already. So why is the dispatcher asking if her name's Kathy?
Right. And as far as I know, when there was the investigation, the grand jury stuff, the 911, for whatever reason, the 911 operator was never called for any information.
Really?
Yeah. Seems like someone you would call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I was on that phone call.
That is weird. That Kathy thing's weird.
Yeah, that's
If she had already said her name was Patsy once, you could understand maybe she misheard,
right.
but she didn't. So why is she saying Kathy? Why is she assuming what the name is?
Some people just say it's inaudible, that you're just hearing it.
Because she does get cut off as she's saying it.
Yeah.
And that could be too. Yeah.
But this
But they've
is
had
the
this-
official transcript that I put in here. So
Yeah.
it has, are
And-
you Kath?
And as we're about to get into, this has been analyzed by the best of the best.
Yeah. Organizations that have analyzed the call are the FBI, the Secret Service, Aerospace Corporation, Los Alamos National Laboratory, company called Legal Audio, one called Team Audio, Professional Audio Laboratories, and then CBS/Critical Content. They've all taken a crack at this. And it's mainly about at the end when Patsy either just drops the phone or thinks she hung up the phone and it didn't actually hang up, is what are you hearing at the end of that phone call? And the big dispute is whether it's Burke's or John's voice can be heard at the end of the tape.
Not one of the two, but whether or not you hear either of them.
Right. And this, people point to this as this is proof that the Ramseys were lying about that morning because because they stand by the statements that Burke was asleep when this 911 call was made.
So technically, you shouldn't even be hearing him on the 911 tape.
Right. The National Enquirer leaked the aerospace findings in a world exclusive appearing in its September 1st, 1998 issue. Quote, Boulder detective Melissa Hickman took the tape to the Aerospace Corporation for enhancement. Their experts enhanced the tape. At first, they heard Patsy saying, quote, help me, Jesus, and Burke saying, quote, please, what do I do? According to a source.
That's at the end of the tape.
Right.
I feel like the help me, Jesus, we can almost, you can't really hear, but it makes sense based on what we heard when we listened to that call.
After further analysis, they heard 3 distinct voices, then gave the enhanced recording to Detective Hickman. Quote, Hickman heard John Ramsey say, quote, we're not speaking to you, in what sounded like a very angry voice, the source said. Quote, Patsy then says, help me, Jesus, and finally Burke is clearly heard to say, quote, well, what did you find? With an emphasis on the word did.
Well, what did you find?
Right.
So they heard all of that. They heard John saying, we're not speaking to you, and Patsy saying, help me, Jesus, and then Burke saying, well, what did you find? They heard all of that at the end of the call.
Yeah.
This was the
This was aerospace.
This is still the aerospace one that the National Enquirer leaked.
Right.
Which changes the whole scenario of the whole story. So
100%.
Especially if it's saying, what did you find?
yeah,
And if the kid's awake, because they've always stood by that he was asleep. When the original leak appeared in 1998, the Boulder Daily Camera reported, quote, the general content of this transcript in the supermarket tabloid is accurate, according to sources familiar with the investigation. But the same article also reported, quote, spokeswoman for the Boulder Police and the Boulder County District Attorney's Office would not comment on the 911 tape from December 26, 1996. So somewhere they have a source there that's saying it's accurate. The police are saying not. So let's go ahead and listen to it. See if you guys.
This is the end of
This
the call.
is the
right
end
here.
of the call, and this is there's debate on if the enhanced one has ever been public or not.
So I was going to ask that. We are not listening to an enhanced one.
It says it is, but we don't know.
Oh, so it says
Like,
this is the enhanced version.
Supposedly. CBS supposedly said that they had it, and there's debate on if they did or not.
Kathy, Kathy, Kathy.
That second part of that, I didn't hear anything.
You want to hear it again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Kathy, 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 Kathy.
I don't hear anything. either.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean,
Do you, Ian?
I feel like I hear a "What did you do?"
Hmm.
but I don't know in the beginning.
but there is no what did you do?
Right. That's just what it sounds like to me. I mean,
At the
there's-
very beginning of that part, that clip we played.
right.
I feel like I can hear the help me Jesus, help me Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely voices.
yeah.
I hear. I
yeah.
think it makes sense. I can't hear the "Help Me Jesus," but it sounds like her voice, kind of in that "Help me Jesus, help me
Yeah,
Jesus."
I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see how, if that's the enhanced version, if that's truly it, how you claim to hear three distinct voices.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, we're also three drunks sitting in a basement. We're not, experts on this. I don't. That's crazy.
I don't know what I hear. I do.
And that
I,
second part of it, I definitely don't hear.
I don't
anything.
hear anything there. I get the first part with the cadence of
Yeah.
the please or the Jesus
Help me,
stuff.
Jesus,
Help
yeah.
me, Jesus. But
But that's it.
like, if I didn't have that written in front of me, I wouldn't say, "Oh, that's what she's saying."
I
Right.
agree.
But
I
it,
agree.
it matches the cadence of how that would sound. Though.
Right, as she's walking in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like A&E had a documentary where they did this. They were like going all, super hard on it, and they had subtitles with what they think it was saying. And it's like, you could put I feel like you could put any similar variation on it and you throw subtitles in there and you're gonna hear it.
People will hear it. Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it one more time.
You want it one more time?
One more time.
Listen for the "What did you do?"
At the beginning.
like a couple seconds in.
All right.
Kathy, Kathy, Kathy.
I did hear it that time.
It sounds like a guy saying, "What did you do?"
I heard something
Something that would sound
similar.
like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that cadence. It might not be that exact sentence, but it kind of sounds like that. So
So what would that lend to? That's John yelling at Burke
yeah, maybe
or someone else in the house?
if you subscribe to the theory,
And I know I'm jumping way
Yeah.
ahead, so we can hold that up, but I just didn't know,
he's
He's yelling at someone clearly.
If he's yelling at Burke, it means that they've lied at this point
Yeah.
because they stand by the fact that Burke was asleep.
Okay.
So let's get into what everybody found here. Professional Audio Laboratories analysis. The revised transcript from this analysis showed a few new words at the beginning of the tape and following the keyboard typing heard at the end of the tape. Has a quote, unknown female saying, "Help me, Jesus," 3 times in succession. What they did not find. This lab found no evidence of Burke's or John's voices at the end of the tape, nor did it find any evidence of alteration of the tape or mechanical sounds. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just looking for something, but I feel like I really hear a guy's voice in there.
I can't tell.
I don't think there's enough for me to confidently say
Yeah,
there is.
right.
I think you hear something, but I mean, who knows? Could be the dishwasher running in the background that you kind of just hear and it makes it sound like it's a voice. you
Right.
know? Other than the "Help me, Jesus," that's the only thing that makes perfect sense to me.
And if that's the case, then that would make sense for her to say that. She's a religious woman.
Sure.
So,
Right. And she's terrified and
yeah.
Not out of place at all.
The FBI and Secret Service analysis, they both reportedly examined the tape to determine whether there were extra sounds at the end of the tape if they were human voices, and they were unable to identify any voices at all. They say there is nothing in there.
Not even the "Help Me, Jesus."
Not even that.
That's interesting.
Well, clearly there's something.
Yeah.
You would think, but they say no, there's nothing in there.
Okay.
CBS and Critical Content claim to have played the re-enhanced version of the call in their recent documentary, but this has been proven to just be the same analysis from the Aerospace Corporation back in 1997. And this is kind of where I was saying earlier that everybody seems to have their own agenda and like fudge facts with this thing. Like, why are you going to say that? Why are you going to do that? Why are you going to be like, oh, it's just for ratings. I get that. But it's like, don't fucking lie about it. Just say this is the tape. It's
Because you lose credibility for the rest of your show, right?
Yeah.
If you're forging one, if you're faking one piece of it.
Yeah.
With that, let's get into to the ransom note.
Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned we are familiar with law enforcement, countermeasures, and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. Going back to the 911 tape for a second, when the 911 operator asks her who's the note from, she says SBTC, and then she says victory. John Douglas from the FBI, the profiling unit, he says that he fully believes that the Ramseys have nothing to do with this, and that they didn't write this note. They don't have anything to do with it. He said it makes sense because she's skimming the note for who wrote it at the end, where someone would naturally sign, and she looks at the bottom, says SBTC. That doesn't make sense. So she goes up to the next line, says victory.
Mm-hmm.
I get that makes sense. I wouldn't have thought of that, really. I mean,
What does it prove, though?
that she didn't write the note.
That she was, I think his point was that she was just looking quickly. They asked who wrote it or who it came from. So she skimmed to the end and she read what she thought was where you would see it, SBTC. Immediately said, well, that doesn't make sense. Said victory, which would, I mean, that would take either good acting or you legitimately were trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
I think is what his point probably was.
Right. And that would mean that she didn't write the note, because if she wrote the note, you would think she would say something like, I don't know who it's from. It just says SBTC, but I don't know what that means, or like kind of give a story somewhat behind that.
All right.
The thing that immediately stands out is the length of this ransom note. Typically, they're no more than a few lines long, just enough to get the point across. And as far as I could see, this is the longest ransom note in U.S. history.
What's the point? Yeah.
There's just a lot going on here.
It's a lot of the same threats over and over. Don't talk to anybody. Don't try anything funny. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, pulling something at the bank.
And it's very movie-like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's from Escape from New York. Do you remember when they went to try to get the president back, and the guy came out and he said, "If you try to invade, he dies. If you try to whatever, he dies." Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, it is, but isn't there's a bit from Dirty Harry, right? I think the stray dog line is similar to that. Yeah, there's a lot of movie stuff in here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It would have taken a long time to write this letter. The experts did it at 21 minutes to write this whole letter out. And I mean, you're really risking yourself being caught at that point. And there's a lot of investigators, and I know John Douglas, going back to him, he believes that the person wrote it with their left hand, trying to disguise their handwriting.
Okay.
And that was clocked at 35 minutes with somebody that's right-handed trying to write it with their left hand.
So you're going to be in someone's kitchen for 35 minutes with a kitchen light on,
right?
And have their daughter and be able to sit there and write this out. That does not seem.
That's just not a plan.
No, that's not likely, I think.
It doesn't make sense. Nothing about this note makes sense at all.
No, it doesn't.
You start in the beginning of it, and there's misspellings that they also believe were to try and hide the identity of someone who wrote it. Business is misspelled. Possessions misspelled. Then you get down to the bottom where it's telling you make sure you bring the adequate size attaché to the bank. You wouldn't tell them to bring the right size bag, number one. And number two, I've only heard the word attaché when we were doing the DB Cooper episode for Patreon. I didn't even know what that fucking word was until we did that.
Known.
Because people don't use the word attaché anymore.
Well, and
I'm going to start calling it. What is it, a duffel bag?
It's a briefcase.
Oh, all right. I'm going to start calling my work briefcase an attaché.
That's what I call mine.
Be a fancy pants.
Do you?
No.
Oh, okay.
We're going to start to. Can I call my cooler of beer that I bring over here every week my attaché?
Sure.
Okay,
it's my
call whatever you
briefcase.
want.
All right.
But in the note, attaché actually had the accent over it too. So how are you going to misspell business and possession, but you're going to get attaché correct? That doesn't make sense.
I actually have a hard time spelling the word possession. Whenever I have to write it out, that word always gets me. It's one of those. That's one of those ones that just gets me.
But naturally, you would
But yeah, I mean,
know how to spell attaché.
no. I mean,
It's just a weird. And there,
I wouldn't use that word.
I find the last use your good Southern common sense of yours just to be an odd.
Especially
It's an
because they're
odd
a small
thing.
foreign faction. Is a foreign faction going to refer to good Southern common
Yeah,
sense?
that's very strange.
That's really odd.
That line doesn't make sense at all because John Ramsey's not from the South. He's not Southern.
That's just weird,
But
though.
who
for
would
like
come up with that?
Yeah.
The foreign faction thing is, it seems like it's just a number or another thing that to throw it off.
Yeah, we represent a small foreign faction. No one writes that.
No, if it was really a terrorist group, they would say,
Yeah.
Who they were.
right. And there's other theories or investigators say that is a misleading thing because it says we are a group, and then down after a while it starts to use I. So they like slip. It's like kind of like a Freudian slip or something. You know, they go back to talking about just them individually.
But then they go into the two gentlemen watching over your daughter.
It literally nothing about this makes sense at
No.
all. And as far as it being signed with SBTC, it's a complete mystery to this day. And there's no terrorist groups or any foreign things that would be linked that's been linked to.
It's just made up.
And there's lots of debate, and we'll get into it on what exactly that could stand for.
It's someone's idea of what a movie ransom note would sound like.
Exactly. Is the fact that whoever wrote this asked for $118,000 specifically. That is a very specific number.
It is.
And
very.
also, it doesn't seem like a very large amount given who you're dealing with.
You could make the argument that they wouldn't ask for something crazy because it would take time to get that. Like
Yeah.
you can't just go to the bank to pull out $500,000.
It's true.
But that is such a specific number. You could have asked for 100,000, 150,000. You wouldn't just write $118,000. Getting into that a little bit, and we'll probably get into it later on in either part 2 or probably part 3, but John Ramsey's bonus from that year was right around $118,000. Like, this was just rounded to take the cents out, which is very strange. You could say maybe somebody saw a pay stub of his
Sure.
in the house and wrote that and figured he could get that money quick.
Okay.
Possibly.
That's
Because
a good point.
1,500 people
Yeah.
were walking through the
Plus
house.
that second party with 150 people, or his 2 Christmas parties with
One had 150 and the other
one
had
was
30.
Okay, so another 180 people.
Is that true though? The company was doing. He was the CEO of a company that did $1 billion, and his bonus was only 118 grand.
Mhm.
Huh. Okay.
His net worth at the time was around $6 million, and he had liability of $1,118,000. So there's another $118,000.
Very strange number.
And there's a guy we'll get into in the suspects that had a falling out with John Ramsey regarding Access Graphics and Lockheed Martin, and sued Lockheed Martin for $118,000.
Come on.
He ended up settling it for half, but his first asking price was $118,000.
That's weird.
So you have it 3 times
really
there
strange.
brought up.
Hmm.
There's something to that. Now, that is a very personal number.
Yeah.
You're not going to come up with that off the top of your head.
Well, nothing. Yeah. Everything about this is personal, though.
So whoever wrote this, who you would think would have, there was something in their mind to make them write $118,000. This is very, very strange.
This really is. Like I said at the beginning, I'm learning all this as we're going through it. This is creepy. This is upsetting. It's terrifying. Like, in the end, like it's an interesting story because we're getting all these what ifs. There's a girl that was killed, so it makes it all terrible.
Right.
But it's interesting just how there's just the way that kind of is playing out for me.
The letter was discovered to have been written on a notepad found within the Ramsey house.
That's crazy, too. What if this was your plan? If just scrounge the house looking for a notepad? What if you couldn't find one? What were you going to do?
Well, and allegedly they were there writing the note for 35 minutes as it is.
It's
Clearly
just-
they were not in a hurry.
It's just implausible, the whole scenario.
If it was an outside intruder,
Right.
of course.
It was found by looking for writing impressions that it was drafted on pages from the middle of the pad, not the front page, as you would expect, which is another really weird thing to do.
I'm trying to think. I find this notepad. I open it
You
up.
just
I'm in a
open it,
hurry. I don't know.
Couldn't you also
Why would
just,
you open it if it's blank? The first page is blank. Why would you open
Don't you
it?
usually have a cover on the front, though, no?
No,
not
this
if
was
it's
just your standard.
like a legal pad.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of notepad.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, like a legal pad.
Mhm.
So it's
Oh, I guess I was thinking of one with a cover with a notebook.
yeah,
No, it's just
like
your
a
standard.
composition book. You were.
Yeah.
Couldn't you also just tell by like the where it was torn out? Like if you look in the pad, if you look in the middle, you can still see, like, you know what I'm talking about, like where it's the what's the word?
Perforated?
Perforated. Like you can still see where it's ripped.
Well, they determined that there were pages missing that were never found again. So whoever wrote this
there's
note
multiple.
took some pages.
So they didn't spend 35 minutes writing one draft. It was like an hour writing 2 drafts.
Right, and they had proven that the first draft started out saying Mr. and Mrs. I, and then they stopped and then wrote the one. So they started out saying Mr. and Mrs. I, and then switched it to Mr. Ramsey and directed
Mr. and Mrs. I.
it like Mr. and Mrs. comma, and then the next line started off a sentence saying I,
Gotcha.
and then stopped and went into directing it just at John instead of including Patsy. Like we were just talking about with ripping out pages, the additional sheets were never located. They were able to determine that it was drafted from writing impressions. The pen used was also already in the Ramsey house. Forensic analysis showed that the pen used was a pre-November 1992 water-based ink Sharpie just like the ones kept in the orange container on the kitchen counter. The precise pen type is known because the Secret Service has a huge database of pen inks to detect forgery. Not only did the kidnapper leave the notepad behind, but also put this pen back in the container.
That's just weird. That's so odd. It's also odd that you would not have a note pre-written if you were breaking into this home.
That's what John Douglas believes, is that he thinks that this note was already written, or they already had a draft written and came in with it and wrote it on stuff from inside the house.
As a way to throw off.
Right. That's his belief. Fingerprints that were found on the note have never been matched to any of the Ramsey family or anyone else. Handwriting analysis of the letter has been inconclusive in terms of identifying a suspect. The premise of handwriting analysis is based on the fact that no two individuals have the same handwriting. This is based on variables and patterns observed in handwriting, such as pen lifts, letter form, pressure applied, and shading. A handwriting expert will use historical documents from the suspect, as well as one that is requested as part of the investigation to compare the document in question. The pen used in this ransom note was a broad fiber tip pen. This type of pen makes handwriting analysis more challenging due to the fact that the pen tip distorts the finer details that make handwriting unique.
Oh, it's a Sharpie.
Right.
That
So
makes
it's going to
sense.
bleed.
Yeah. So we discussed handwriting, I think it was in the Zodiac one, right? When they were doing that.
Right. It's not, there's a lot of debate out there about how correct it really is.
Yeah. Do we believe it's even a thing? Because remember,
What?
if that doctor in the Zodiac one said that a person's handwriting never changes, and even if you try to
Right.
disguise it, it's still detectable.
I don't fully believe that.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
I believe more in the habit part of it. I think we talked about that before, where
Yeah.
we said, like, if someone leaves off a sentence without putting a period every time or something like that, and you can document that, like a specific habit that's weird, that's more credible to me than the actual handwriting analysis. I'm saying it's not 100%.
Yeah, no, far
Yeah.
from it. You could read all about that in Zodiac episode located in the archives.
Boom. Nailed it. Also, a Sharpie. I hate that they call Sharpie a pen because I see a Sharpie as a marker.
Yeah.
So, like, this whole time, I was thinking a pen until, Ian, when you read, like, the pre-1992 water-based ink Sharpie,
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh, it's a Sharpie.
Right.
I think that's very different and significant
Very.
because it's more of a marker than it is a or a pen.
Yeah, I mean, it's your standard Sharpie.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, like we said, the ink's thicker, it spreads, you're
Right.
not going to see all the little, nuances of someone's handwriting.
One of the big questions has come up, and we kind of talked about it earlier, is if they were trying to disguise or mask their real handwriting. We talked about there's people like John Douglas and other investigators believe that the person wrote it with their left hand instead of their right hand.
Can you write stuff with your other hand? I can. It'll look like just scribble.
Dave, have
Yeah.
you seen my handwriting? Look at this right now.
Well, that's your right hand. What it would look like if you wrote with your left hand?
That's my point. I can't even read my own handwriting most times,
Right.
let alone if I use my left hand. Like, I have chicken scratch legitimately. It's terrible. So could I? No, I could not.
No, I couldn't either.
Or I'd be sitting there for a day and a half trying to write out that letter that I read earlier.
Right.
Well, they say that they also go on to say that the writing appears to have a slow and hesitant pressure pattern. That would make sense. If you're writing with your left hand, you would really kind of take your time on the letters. That's why when they're saying 21 minutes to write it normal, you're tacking on an extra, 13 minutes to write it with your left hand.
Which makes sense when you're in someone's house that you want to spend as much time in there as possible.
Sure.
Right.
When you're kidnapping their kid.
Yeah.
I mean, with that letter, I don't think kidnapping was ever even part of the question
Yeah.
or part of the crime at all.
It's just the cover story.
Yeah.
Something to throw investigators off because it just makes no sense. So who submitted handwriting samples? John Ramsey, Patsy Ramsey, Burke Ramsey, John Andrew Ramsey, Melinda Ramsey, family friend Fleet White, the guy who played Santa Claus, Bill McReynolds, and Joe Barnhill, who was the neighbor that had the new bike stored at his house for JonBenet.
Why him? Just because he was a neighbor?
Because he was right in that window of the time frame.
Within like a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because that was, Christmas Eve, and this was the 26th.
All of them were ruled out to have written the letter, but Patsy was not. The results from her handwriting were inconclusive, so they couldn't prove that she wrote the letter, but they couldn't eliminate her as the writer either.
Do you think if you had to take one of those tests, like, I don't think I could just naturally write if I knew I was being, like, studied and they were like, here, write this sentence. I feel like it would change my actual handwriting.
They did, but they were tested numerous times.
Or would they take, like, old samples of my writing?
They take old samples, too.
I'd rather them do that because I feel like I'd be too nervous and I would want to change my writing while taking the test.
Do they put it all together and kind of come up with a composite of your...
I would imagine they do something, but...
As far as what I read, they take a bunch of old stuff, and then they take your sample that you wrote for them.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe...
It would make me nervous having to, like, take that test.
The writer is believed to be a woman, and this is based off some of the caring and like, almost nurturing language used in the letter, with phrases like, quote, I advise you to be rested. Doesn't make sense. Why would you need to be why would a kidnapper say you need to get your rest?
Well, it's another movie thing. Like, they, in their mind, they said, oh, we're going to send him to this phone booth, and then he's going to have to run across town to this phone booth.
Right.
It's more movie stuff.
What was the line? The drop off will be exhaustive.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, what are you doing? That it's exhaustive.
Yep.
Yeah. The experts say that they found at least 6 examples of what they would consider maternalistic type language. They say that the writer was an adult over 30 and well educated, a native English speaker despite the spelling errors. It's likely that they knew the Ramseys, their children, their business, and their home well. Based on the language used and information provided, experts believe that the individual was attentive to their presentation and behavior despite being in a high-pressure situation. And this is also clear by the fact that the writer started a practice note.
Yeah, they weren't in a hurry.
Yeah.
Whether they had premeditated or pre-writ the letter or not.
Right.
Pre-wrote the letter, not writ. It's been a long day of talking. I writted that note.
I done composed it.
They don't know the word composed.
I don't. This whole thing's just fucking bizarre.
That's an interesting
I
start.
don't even know what to say.
And that's where we'll pick up next week for part 2. Part 2, we'll get into probably the most incompetent police investigation I've ever read about.
Amanda
or heard
Knox
about.
is pretty bad too.
We can say most incompetent American police investigation.
It's a big statement.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get into the autopsy, all that stuff.
Okay.
All right.
That was we laid a good base then. Give all the good details. All right, it's been a few weeks. We got some Patreon shout outs, and oh boy, do we have some Patreon shout outs. Here we go. Thank you very much to Devin Hanna, Samuel Howell, Emily Warner, Amanda Strobeck, Adrian Gren, Anna, Jess N., Elena Rosa, Kirsten Polly, Samantha Bowers, Christina, Lee Terwilliger, Chelsea Russell, Samantha Herman, Hank the Tank, Jessica Somerville, Joseph Ramirez, Laura Davis, Kingman Bond Graham, Justin Shasby, Gina Wesley, Desiree Saunders Spenner, Sarah Renee Lanehart, Adrian Janes, Maddie Campbell, Kate Merrick, Eric Hockenberry, Jess Wright, Erica Despina, Erica Ortwin, Nora Henry, Stephanie T., Tara Bracken, Preston C., Beck Altop, Josh Sinclair, Lee Bradshaw, Max Bowers, Mara Ruiz, Alex Miller, and Joshua too, buddy. Me too.
Love him so much I spank him all the time.
You leave my Mr. Muggs out of it.
Black Macabre.
They're Nacho Suitable, Devin Hannah Boyman, Vegan DN, PJ Karen 32 on Instagram, Dustin Sound.
Feel free to hit us up if you have anything you want to reach us out to us about, or have any show topics we might be able to add to our list, we are at patreon.com/Necronomipod. If you wish to subscribe to our show, we have a $1 and a $5 tier. The $1 tier gets you a shout out. $5 tier gets you a shout out plus access to all the bonus content. And also, you can search Necronomipod on Amazon to find all of our latest gear. We have a ton of stuff up there and different designs and different merch and different colors to pick from. So that's Amazon and search Necronomipod.
And the other thing I just want to say real quick about Patreon is we just started putting the outlines up.
That's
We're
right.
going to
We've been
release
putting
a
out some
few
old outlines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll release a few at a time. So, and shout out to Liz McCombs for putting that all together.
Yeah, every month we'll put out a few through the old outlines for you guys to have for the $5 tier.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.